You alright, buddy? You good? You good? It's alright, man. Don't cry. Don't cry, buddy. It's okay.
That was the saddest movie I ever seen in my life. Welcome everybody, this is Cinema Headz. We are today reviewing Grave of the Fireflies. Today we have...
Adrian. Matt.
JP.
And I'm Gabe. The director for this movie is...
Isao Takahata.
Ooh, look at you, JP.
That.
Learning Japanese.
Alright, the movie is based off of basically children during the World War II era. After the bombing has hit, it's basically the lives of children who became pretty much orphans due to their family members passing away in the bombing.
And this is during the American bombings on the Japanese side of World War II.
Right.
We have two main characters. Pretty much the whole entire movie is about JP.
The two main characters are Seta, who is the older brother, and Setsuko, who's the younger sister.
Awesome. The story is based around their lives and pretty much actually right before the bombing hits, and pretty much their journey and their life during and after the bombing hits. As you can see with my colleague over here, this movie is pretty much the most emotional movie I think I've ever seen for an anime movie. Mm-hmm. It hits high levels on every type of sad... pretty much emotion that you can get from a movie. The brother taking care of the sister during this time. It also goes into a backstory of like all the kids that were orphaned during that time. So it's a real serious tone movie. It's probably one of our most serious movies we've ever reviewed on this channel.
Yeah, for sure.
So right away we'll go into pretty much the plot with Adrian and what he thought of it and how they delivered the plot.
Yeah, so, I mean, at the very beginning of the movie, it shows a bunch of kids in, like, a train station, and pretty much they're just, like, all about to die. And then it focuses on one young man, one of the kids, who's actually the older brother, and he's, like, literally about to die. I'm pretty sure he dies in that scene.
Yeah, in the opening scene, it kind of sets the tone for the whole movie, with him passing away, and then... it kind of flashes back to tell his story throughout the war and how he got to that point.
So essentially it's telling the story of him and his little sister, who's like probably the most adorable character. She makes you smile. She makes you want to cry. Yeah. But it's about them and essentially about him just trying to protect her and keep her alive, keep her spirits up. They lose their mother in the beginning, and later on they lose their father, and really, like Gabe said, it's like the most depressing movie. I mean, it has little high points, like, oh, he got her food, they're playing around, but really everything just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. I mean, during that time period, it was pretty unforgiving type war. Yeah. And if you lost your pretty much revenue, you were pretty much left. So as Adrian said, the story of him taking care of his sister was like the highlight, but it was also the most depressing part of the movie. The characters of the brother and the daughter, the emotional attachment that they had, the story was like based around them. I'll pass this on to JP and see what he thinks of it, of how they portrayed those characters, and how well they did with each other. Like the director made them, like the artists interacted them with them, like that type of stuff. What do you think?
I mean, throughout this whole anime, the whole thing is basically about that brother-sister relationship. But since they became orphaned and he has to care for them as a family, it's basically about him kind of trying to do the best he can to fill that role as a parent and a brother and take care of his little sister and do anything that he could to handle that situation. And A lot of it goes into how, they lost their parents. They went to go live with a relative. The relative basically made them feel like they were burdens upon them. So he's doing the best he can to protect them and try to keep them in the house as much as possible, keep them fed, give them food while they're living there. And basically she ends up kicking them out of the house. And so they have to go find their own shelter. And the movie plays off of just those relationships about how, like, he would take her to the beach to keep her spirits up, keep her happy, keep playing with her. They had to trade in a lot of their mother's belongings, and so to get rice just so they could keep eating and keep healthy as much as possible. And so it's all about how their relationship develops throughout those times. So.
As JP said, like, the emotional attachment between, like, the brother and the daughter, like, basically doing everything that you could possibly do to keep somebody so small spirits up during a horrible time as that World War II era really goes, it's really a tough thing to do because you know what's going on, especially as an older sibling. So JP and me and Matt all have children. So I want to kind of get Matt's perspective on this as far as, like, what he thought as a viewer, emotional level of watching something like this transpire on screen, even though it was animated, but it was still so realistic. And, like, we talk about this in another video, in our Ant-Man video, of, like, doing everything you can for your kid if you're on, like, house arrest, but this is, like, the extreme of house arrest. Like, what did you think about that as far as, like, a viewer, like a human being watching a cartoon, but on that emotional level of what the movie brought?
So, even in the beginning, and Adrian touched base, you already know what's going to happen. You know that he passes on, and you're assuming that the little girl is already passed on too, because he walks out into the Fireflies, and she's standing there, and then the whole movie starts from there. Even from that, it still tells such a great story, and it drags you into it, and it makes you feel so emotionally attached to these kids that you literally feel bad for them. You feel like these are kids that you want, like, you're like, hey, come live with me, I'll take you. And they're cartoons, there's nothing you can do, but that's just how emotionally drawn in, they had for you. And like you said, we have kids, and I have 2 kids, and I have a boy and a little girl, so it really touched a lot of base that if me and my wife had passed on, hopefully my son, would pick up and he would take over for her sister, which he would, because he protects his sister now with his entire heart. So just watching that, it really pulled the heartstrings. It was a really big tearjerker. And it just pulled you in, and it just made you feel even their happy moments. You're like, oh man, that's great. Maybe something good's going to happen. And then it slaps you right back down and brings you back to earth and says, nope, not every time is going to be roses. Sometimes you're going to get that pile of crap that you can't deal with.
Yeah, being a father and kind of seeing that, it took me on a different, like, perspective of what we all kind of take for granted, like, being able to get our kids stuff, even growing up with Adrian, him always knowing that somebody was there above me to protect me, but we always had parents and stuff like that, so it was really different to see a movie where the older brother was always protecting that little girl, making sure that her life was as happy as it could be, all the way to the very end. Not giving a crap about his own well-being and not giving a crap about his own feelings or anything like that, but always making sure that her life was at the top of a candy mountain, like, pretty much. Like, I think what really got to me the most was the very, very beginning. As Matt said, you see the daughter or the little girl and the guy in a field of fireflies, and then instantly you see them, like, looking at themselves or looking at the boy in the train station, and instantly you knew, like, that's their, like, spirit, like, that's their, like, soul watching them perish, but, like, their spirits were, like, happy. So it was, like, something that, like, immediately grabbed you in and immediately, like he said, pulled on your heart, because it's such a real subject. And it was displayed so beautifully on the TV screen. Like, just that animated movie, it was just so realistic. And the animation was beautiful.
Yeah, the animation was so nice.
The animation was wonderful.
Especially for a movie that came out in the late 1980s.
Yeah, 1985 is when
the animation still holds up amazingly well.
Yes, it's a very beautiful movie.
I think it's rated higher than Spirited Away too. I think too.
See, and Spirited Away was like amazing, and it like the story of Spirited Away was great, but this was real.
Yeah.
Like this is real life. What happened during that time period?
This
with
is
these
one
orphans.
of the most movies that, from live action, anime, any genre, whatever, it takes you on such an emotional journey, almost like the beginning of Up in a way. That movie kind of grabs you in the beginning. It's very emotional. But this movie stretches it out throughout the entire movie, and it just takes you on a very emotional journey, and it's based on something that's, happened in real life through our history, and it's a very important side of history, and then that we don't always get to see and don't learn about. So I think it's a very important movie, and it's very beautifully done.
I think that they did a live action version of this movie too. I've never seen it. I want to see it to see if it's as good as the animated movie. It's probably not going to be, but yeah, I think they did a live action one too.
Yeah, like the director, the writers, the producers, just came out with pretty much a masterpiece.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I even watched after watching the movie, I watched like other YouTube videos talking like to actual critics like Roger Ebert, stuff like that, and he actually rated it as like super high on his list, which is crazy because how much movies that guy watches.
Yeah.
And to see an animated movie about World War II, like obviously when you see movies about World War II, you know they're going to be like sad, or you know they're going to be either action packed or something like that, just to say what's going on. But the way they produced this movie of such beauty, of showing, it's so bittersweet. It's like double-edged sword because it's so beautiful, but it's the most like saddest thing in the world. And like we always joke around and stuff like that, like in our intro, like Matt was really sad and stuff like that, but literally watching it, I was like holding back tears the whole entire time because it makes you think about your family. It makes you think, I know for us, our children, if they were ever in that like predicament, like how like awful that would be. Like I would want to be there all the time for them. And it's a really good movie. I mean,
definitely highly recommended for sure. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go check it out.
So I'll pass on to JP with his ranking, then we'll kind of just move down the list.
Well, I would definitely give this movie 10 out of 10. It's just beautifully done. Like I said, it's very emotional, grabs you from the beginning, and even though it's a very sad movie, I feel like I said it's a very important subject. It's very important to see that side of the things that happened on that side of the war, and I just think it was a very beautifully done movie, and the storytelling, even without much dialogue in the movie, was just excellent. The animation carried you through every little emotional thought that these characters went through and everything that they had to go through, so I think it was excellently done.
Alright, we'll go with Adrian.
Oh yeah, I'm going to give it a 10 for sure. Everything JP said, I mean, there's not really too much else to say. I mean, definitely a classic for sure. So, like I said, if you haven't seen it, you should I highly recommend you watch it.
Matt?
It's going to have to, of course, get that big 10. You know, it draws you in, it really pulls you in, and then even through the whole entire thing, you see him trying to do for her, but at the same time, she doesn't want to make sure he doesn't go hungry. You know, she tries to do things for him also. You know, she doesn't want to eat that watermelon, or she don't want to eat that piece of food because she wants to make sure he's fed too. So it really does show you the other side of things that we don't get to see because we're very comfortable here. You know, we get whatever we want for our kids, like Gabe said. They're so provided for that we could never understand that pain and emotion they go through until you watch this movie, and then you actually could a little bit understand that pain and emotion. I couldn't hold back tears, man. I cried through half of it.
Yeah, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I mean, if you you kind of notice, like, in this video, like, I haven't really been looking directly at the camera because, like, every single time we talk about it, like, I think about it more and more and more, and it's harder to, like, be straightforward and, like, not think about children.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, even if they're not my children. Like, the children during that time period that were dealing with that, it was, and, like, watching it in the very beginning, seeing those kids in the train station, like you said, all those kids, and literally there's nothing nobody could do for them because nobody else has anything. So it's like, it's, you never want to see a child go hungry. You never want to see a child go, like, you know, on their last, like, gleam of light of living. And that's just like the emotional level that like I think about when I see this movie. So obviously a 10 out of 10. It was just beautifully done. The animation was amazing. The story was crazy amazing. As JP said, it didn't really even have that much dialogue in it, and it was still just perfect. Yeah. I mean, the emotion. Also, I'm happy you brought that up, but the daughter or the little girl always making sure that the bigger brother didn't go without food and stuff like that as well. Like, it shows you that even though she's super young, she still, it's almost like she knows the predicament that they're in, but she's like a pure soul, so she can't like not deal with it either. Like, she just kind of just goes with the motion just to try to like make the best out of it. And
even when you find out when the mom actually passes and she finds out the mom passes, she takes it really well. Like, she took it better than the brother did, because he broke down in tears, and she took it as, I understand what's going on. I understand she moved on.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much else to say. Like, I think if I talk about it more, I'm going to cry about it. I mean, do you guys have anything else to say?
Only thing I have to say is, if you haven't seen this movie, you should.
You need to watch it.
It's worth a watch, 100%. It's a very important movie, and everybody should see this movie, honestly.
Unfortunately, it's not on Netflix. It is on Hulu.
Yeah.
But I just recommend having it in your collection. It's that good of a movie, and it's beautifully like crafted animation. It's just,
even if you're not a fan of anime, it's still just a great story.
It's just good cinema, like pure good cinema. With that, give it to Matt for our outro. So take it away, bro.
And of course, this has been Cinema Heads, the reviews you deserve and the sadness you probably didn't need, but you should take out and go watch that movie. If you like this video, please give us that beautiful thumbs up like you always do. Drop in the comments if you've seen the movie and if you also had a lot of tears about it, or any comments or anything else that you'd like us to see in the future. Of course, as always, follow us on those beautiful pages, Instagram, Facebook, and of course that Twitter page. As you can see, one of our companions, Jonathan, is not here today. He did not want to watch this movie, and we can all tell why, because he probably would still be crying to this minute, on this hour, of this second, on this day. And of course, from all of us here, this video is, boom, extremely sad. Whoa, the video's over already? Well, if you want to see more, why don't you click that notification button and that subscribe button. And if you really liked it, give us a thumbs up.
Cut.